they'll drop the puck. Canes will get to it. Burns with a hard rim. Aho's chasing in after it. He'll get to it. Heavy hit delivered along the board. Staal trying to dig it out. 3 seconds left. 2 seconds left. Canes can't get the puck free. And that's how this one ends. And the Stars will snap the Canes' 4-game winning streak and take this one 2-1.
Welcome to the Canes Corner podcast. I am Adam Gold. I apologize for the laughter. Oh, man. Hurricanes lose 2-1 to Dallas. That was, really, believe it or not, that was Mike Maniscalco and Tripp Tracy. Actually, it wasn't Tripp Tracy. It was just Mike Maniscalco. It sounded more like Alvin than Mike Maniscalco, but I'll explain in a second. For those of you who don't join us, let me just speak to the people who are joining us only through normal podcast methods, Spotify, Apple, Google Play, however you get podcasts. We do these live on YouTube, and I don't know what happened with the audio there, but it just sped Mike up, and he sounded like Alvin and the Chipmunks. It sounded like maybe more Simon than Alvin. I don't know. We're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it's for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hanner's crew do a great job. You should check him out for all of your exterior home improvement needs. I just spent some time with Patrick Day and Dallas Spruill and Sammy Hanna, and they're great people. You should check them out. They do great work, but they have the customer service is actually better than all of that. Shouts to you in Australia, to Marty and Mikhailov. I probably said that wrong. Mikhailov. I don't know. So wherever you are, wherever you're joining us, thank you very much for making us a little bit of your day or your night. I don't know what time it is where you are. All right, Canes lose to Dallas 2-1. Briefly about the game, and then some other elements that I feel like are worth talking about. So I don't know if I need to know this, Paul, but I'll just tell everybody else. Paul watched this game from the hot tub in Big Skjei, Montana. Honestly, sounds lovely, maybe except for the hot tub part. So, all right, let's get to the game, which was a very clogged game. Something I can relate to. Dallas did not come here to entertain anybody tonight, and I think that was evident by the way they played. Very effective style that will work against Carolina, which is not necessarily a big physical team, although I thought Carolina was certainly not pushed around by Dallas. But Dallas did a great job of keeping the Hurricanes away from the middle of the ice tonight. That was what their plan was all along, to keep Carolina on the perimeter. And I thought Carolina did a fairly good job of getting inside as best they could. But there wasn't a ton of room. And Carolina, it was a low shot total for everybody. Carolina only had 21. Remember Thursday, Florida had 45 shots on goal. Tonight, Dallas had 16. And honestly, didn't even try to offense in the third period. Not interested. They didn't need it. They didn't need to score when you have a 2-1 lead. You don't need any more goals as long as you don't give up any. And they didn't. And Carolina really didn't have a whole bunch of great scoring chances in the third period. This really was a low-event hockey game. Hurricanes had 8 grade A scoring chances according to natural stat trick all night long. Just 8. And they had some chances to score, but really not a whole lot in tight. So they passed up some shots too. So look, Dallas played a certain way tonight. Carolina tried to beat them at it and couldn't. Carolina made a few mistakes, but 2 of them ended up behind Pyotr Kochetkov. And we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the goals. Bigger picture for me, and then I'll get to the goals. at some point this year, now this doesn't mean you can't win the Stanley Cup. And again, there's a bigger picture conversation for what Carolina might be lacking in order to do that. But if you want to catch the Rangers in the Metropolitan Division, you're going to have to put together a long winning streak. The Rangers have won 10 in a row. The Hurricanes' record over the last 2 months has been outstanding. But they're essentially doing no better than treading water because the Rangers are now on this 20 points in 10 game stretch, while Carolina has lost twice, 3 times maybe. I don't think they're three. You have to at some point put a bunch of wins together. Hurricanes have a 5-game winning streak, a 4-game winning streak, and I think a 3-game winning streak. 2 3-game winning streaks. The Rangers have a 10, a 6, and 3 threes. So you got to be able to stack wins on top of each other, and Carolina just hasn't been able to do that. The saving grace is that the Hurricanes have not lost consecutive games in regulation since early December. And there's something to be said for that. But the Hurricanes are going to have to start stacking wins if you want to catch the Rangers. Now, that doesn't mean if you don't win the division, doesn't mean you can't win the Stanley Cup, right? You don't get a free pass if you win a division. You're still going to have to earn it in the playoffs. And I think it's important to get home ice advantage for the first round of the playoffs. And it's probably more important in the first round than it is almost any other time. The first round is the biggest wild card to me. Anything can happen to anyone in the first round of the playoffs. Look what happened to Boston last year. Boston set records for the regular season, lost to Florida in the first round, had a 3-1 lead in that series. And 3-1 lead and a lead late in game 5. Florida got an extra attacker goal, won it in overtime, won the series, going away. Ended up in the Stanley Cup Finals. But if you want to catch the Rangers and win the division, win your 4th consecutive division, you're going to have to put together a winning streak. And we're really running out of time, right? This 3-game road trip that Carolina's going on might actually present an opportunity. Buffalo, Minnesota, Columbus. Then you're home to Winnipeg and Montreal. At New Jersey, who, they are the box of chocolates, right? Home against Calgary, the Rangers, and Florida. That should be a fun 3-game homestand. So I'm not looking at this and saying, hey, the Hurricanes can win 8 in a row now, but they got to start somewhere. And they'll start tomorrow, soon, in Buffalo against the Sabres, 6 o'clock start. You almost wish this was a 7, but it isn't. All right, now to the goals on today. Both goals you can trace back, and this is probably not uncommon anyway, right? Both goals you can trace back to a simple mistake. The first goal, Carolina's kind of hemmed in their own end, but Brent Burns winds the puck around behind his net. Jacob Slavin is on the left side, and Jordan Staal is along the wall. And what appeared to me, and I'm blocked out where we're looking down from the 5th floor. I'm blocked out a little bit because it's on the wall closest to me. What I thought Jordan Staal was going to do was hold the play up, leave the puck for Slavin, and let Slavin clear it out of the zone. The Jason Robertson line was on the ice. But what Staal did instead was he allowed the puck to go through him, thinking that he had support behind him in front of the blue line. That was not the case. So the puck goes back to Dallas. They recycle. Jason Robertson has a clean look. Brent Burns does a great job defending, blocks the shot thoroughly, but it's such a good shot block that it ends up essentially in his own skates. It falls back to Robertson's stick, and Kochetkov, who came out to challenge the shot, ends up out of position, and Robertson, while under some duress, makes a great play and sweeps it in behind Kochetkov. That's the first goal of the game. So it's the inability to get the puck out of the zone, which leads to the chance and leads to the goal. Carolina got it back early second period. Foss to Aho for the breakaway and a goal. Great play. Good to see Aho score on breakaways, by the way, if we're going to find some positives here. And I thought Sebastian played a pretty good hockey game. We going to have more from Andre, right? Andre Svechnikov can't have a game with no shots on goal. It's hard for Carolina to get enough offensively if Andre's not going to have a shot on net. And he struggled in that regard, even while playing well against Florida on Thursday. Whiffed on a couple of chances, missed the net on a couple of others. So we're going to need to see the Andre that played before the latest upper body injury. We need to see the old Andre back, because when he is a goal-scoring monster, Carolina's, well, this obviously is one of the No Crap the Magazine exclusives, but when he's a goal-scoring monster, Carolina's just a much better offensive team. They just have to have him going. They don't have another player like him. And then the second goal is, and I thought Carolina's most effective line, at least in the offensive end, was Necas, Bunting, and Drury. And Necas and Bunting worked very well together again tonight. But on this particular play, Bunting, who was trying to get the puck in deep, didn't do it. Just didn't make a hard enough play with the puck just inside the offensive zone, inside the blue line. He loses it. It goes the other way. Good play up by Miro Heiskanen. Ultimately, it falls to Wyatt Johnston, who's a dynamite player. And Johnston, Brent Burns has to choose between the player closer to the wall and Johnston. He chose the player closer to the wall, figuring that he had help with Jacob Slavin inside. But ultimately, you allow Wyatt Johnston too much room. He shoots through the legs of Slavin. It catches Kochetkov, I guess, by surprise. It's a great shot. It's not a bad goal, but ultimately, Kochetkov is sort of retreating into his net, and he's a little small. Whereas if he attacks the shot, then he has a better chance to make the save. So while it's a great shot, there's a part of me that thinks that Kochetkov could have done better, right? Maybe you don't get it. Maybe it's that good a shot. But it's okay to say that Kochetkov, maybe he wants another crack at that one, right? He had made good saves on the night already. Maybe he wants another crack at that one. Regardless, it's 2-1. And again, it's the mistake that leads to the opportunity that I'm more focused on. Because if you're Bunting, that's not the place to lose the puck, right? Here's what we know about the Dallas Stars. They are super talented, but what they're really trying to do is force you into mistakes and take advantage in transition. What we didn't see from Dallas in either of the two games, what we didn't see from them was them creating opportunities on their own. The opportunities are based on your mistakes, and they're awesome at taking advantage of your mistakes. All three goals, the fourth goal was an empty netter. All three goals in Dallas were the same. Not the same goal, but it were all about Carolina makes a mistake here, Carolina makes a mistake there, bad line change here. Your coverage is all the way tilted over on one side of the ice there, and all of a sudden Dallas has got the puck and they're in front of your goal. All 5 goals that they scored were that way. All 5. But you're not going to go a full game without making a few mistakes. And Carolina made more than just the 2 tonight, but those were the 2 that hurt them. And they were both attributed to your mistakes. And again, this is probably not uncommon for everything, including goals that Carolina scores. But Dallas is there to take advantage of your mishaps, and they did on both goals. All right, I want to get to the lines tonight. By the way, Pekka Posio? Sorry. I need my old man glasses. 6:34 a.m. in Lapland of Finland. Well, hold on. Because I have respect.
Sebastian Aho tässä moi. Kuuntelet tällä hetkellä Canes Corner podcastia.
That was Sebastian Aho saying in Finnish, you are listening to the Canes Corner podcast. I absolutely love using that. All right, let me talk about Teuvo Teravainen. Let me get his ice time first, because I think the ice time is important to know. And for my money, I think Teuvo Teravainen needs to play more. And unfortunately, Rod Brind'Amour is trying as best he can to get Jesperi Kotkaniemi going. And it is not working right now. There's nothing apparently that is getting Jesperi Kotkaniemi playing better, being more effective. This is another game tonight where Carolina's fourth line of Kotkaniemi, Teravainen, and Nason. If you put those three guys on the ice in the third week of the season, it's a second line. Those three guys, all things being equal, should all be 40-point or more scorers. That's a good line. That should be an effective line. So playing against other teams' fourth lines, it should be good. It has not been impactful at all. They're just not impacting the game. And part of that is Kotkaniemi has just been very, very mediocre. And because of that, Teuvo Teravainen, although he played a little bit more tonight because he gets penalty kill time and he gets some power play time, although that second power play unit didn't even see the ice on Carolina's second power play. Carolina's power play's kind of fallen off a little bit here, in case you were wondering. It was never going to stay at almost 28%. But it's fallen off a little bit here. I didn't love it tonight. Didn't hate it, but didn't love it. But Teravainen got to play more than 13 minutes. And he's got to play more than 12 minutes or with the 13 minutes he played the other night. And at some point, we got to get back to whether it's Aho, Svechnikov, and Teravainen or not, we have to get Teuvo back into a top 6 role because he belongs there. He belongs in a top 6 role. While I like the way Jesper Fast is playing with Aho and Svechnikov, at this point, I just need to see, we need to see Teravainen impacting the game at 5-on-5. And playing with Kotkaniemi and Nason right now, it's not happening. I mean, they absolutely have to get more out of that. There was just, and tonight was frustrating from my standpoint watching it because I barely saw Turbo in the third period. I barely saw him. Again, other than killing penalties, I'm just looking at their shift chart now. He played late when Carolina pulled the goalie, right? But other than that, I mean, he went long stretches without getting on the ice. And he had a couple of short shifts, but they just need more. And if Kotkaniemi, who really was benched for much of the third period, like if Kotkaniemi isn't going to get going, then Rod Brind'Amour is going to have to try something else. It's unfortunate, but that's just going to have to be the way it is. But Teuvo Teravainen needs to be part of the whole thing because especially when he's on the second power play unit, they need more. They just need more from Turbo, and they're not using it now because Jesper Fast was kind of pushed up with Aho and Svechnikov to get them going. I think Sebastian's been great. You know, there were a couple of sleepy games, but I thought he was great against Florida. I thought he was one of Carolina's best players tonight. He needs some help. Andre's got to be better. But I think they need Teuvo Teravainen. All right. That's, to me, the line. Now, if you put him with Aho and Svechnikov, you have the physicality of Svechnikov there, so you got some size and bulk. You don't necessarily need Fost, but I love Jesper Fost. But let him dig the puck out of the corners playing with Kotkaniemi and Nason. All right, now, what does Carolina need? And by the way, before we get out of here, I'm going to give you the definitive plan for how Carolina deals with 4 goaltenders once Frederik Andersen is ready to play. And I don't know that Freddie is going to be able to play tomorrow in Buffalo or in Minnesota on Tuesday or Thursday in Columbus. But we're not far away from Andersen coming back. And when he does, Carolina will have 4 goaltenders. On the roster, four goaltenders. But they can't have 4 goaltenders on the roster because they don't have a roster spot for goaltender number 4. So I will tell you how they can make this work in a minute. First, what does Carolina need? At this point, I'm going to say they don't need a goalie. They don't. They do not need a goalie. The way Tony DeAngelo has played it, I thought he was good again tonight. The way DeAngelo has played, I think Carolina has enough cover to get through the playoffs. If they add a defenseman who can, be an emergency call-up during the playoffs, somebody who's in the minor leagues, then I'm okay with that. You like to have 8 or 9 NHL defensemen. Right now, Carolina's got 7. I don't count Dylan Coghlan, although Coghlan has had a great year in the American Hockey League. He's an all-star. So if you count Coghlan as defender number 8, let's say, if you can get somebody who can skate a little bit better to be a call-up just in case, then you've got 9 defensemen. I think DeAngelo has played very well, even though Jalen Chatfield will likely draw back into the lineup pretty soon. It'd be great if it was against Buffalo, but my guess is we're going to see Tony again. And who knows, maybe they're playing Tony to showcase him too, but they need Jalen Chatfield back in the lineup pretty quickly. Anyway, so I'm going to say they don't need a defenseman. They wouldn't mind adding somebody who could play, but there's nobody they're adding that is going to play ahead of the 7 they've got. But here's what they need. They need at least 1, maybe 2 forwards. One of them, I think, should be a center. We are not very far away from, in my opinion, seeing Kotkaniemi as a healthy extra. I don't think we're far away from it. At some point, he has to get up and play. So whether or not you go out and find a right-handed center, and I don't know how many of these players are available. Is Nick Bjugstad from Arizona available? I think he can help. He's big. He's a right-handed centerman. He can score a little bit, but he's big, and he's a right-handed centerman. And he could play 4th-line minutes on this team. Right now, that's your 4th. Kotkaniemi is your 4C. I will say this also, and I've said it plenty. This is no disrespect at all to Jack Drury, who's had a marvelous full season so far. It's hard for me to close my eyes and see you winning a Stanley Cup if Jack Drury is centering your 2nd scoring line. Now, Drury is doing a very good job playing in between Bunting and Necas, and he certainly makes a lot of plays. But, man, when you get deep into the playoffs and you're dealing with, like, Florida, I just think that you are at a serious disadvantage. Now, if you're telling me that Jack Drury is the center on your third scoring line, and for the sake of argument here, I'm saying the Staal line is not a scoring line, even though it can be. If Drury is your third scoring center, I feel so much better, which again, I'm not going to get into my Elias Lindholm fetish, but that's where that was so important, because you would go Aho, Lindholm down the middle, and then it doesn't even matter at that point. You're ahead of the game. So I think they need a center, and they need somebody else who, like, could Adam Henrique be that guy to be, play on a fourth line and give you a little bit of a scoring touch? Could. He could. At this point, I'm not entirely sure where he plays, but they certainly need a center, and they certainly need an option, probably to play in front of Brendan Lemieux. The other option there is, and again, the roster will tell you what Carolina can do, right? But the other option there is bringing up Vasily Ponomarov. And he's a center. So if you go and you add a winger to the mix, you can bring up Ponomarov, and maybe this just doesn't happen until the postseason. And then you can tell you can help the extra Kotkaniemi. But I think they definitely need at least one forward. I think preferably two. Anyway, that's just my thought on the roster with all of the tons of players we can bring up. Guys with term are better than guys without. The Hurricanes don't do rentals. They really don't. So, and I think the Hurricanes are going to wait basically until the final day of the deadline before they do anything, if they do anything. Now, they have done stuff in the past, but it's been very late, and it has been absolutely, bargain hunting, which is what they do. All right, now here is the plan for the goalie. So here it is. Let's just say that tomorrow, Frederik Andersen is ready. Here is my plan with the four goalies. Right now, Carolina has 23 players on their roster. That's the limit. Andersen is on the injured list. If Andersen, let's just hypothetically speaking, if Andersen is going to be activated tomorrow, here's what the Hurricanes should do. Because I think we all agree, Spencer Martin is worth keeping. And whether we agree or not on what to do with Antti Raanta, who is probably Carolina's fourth best goalie. Now, Raanta could go on the injured list right now. If you brought Andersen off, you could put Raanta on the injured list, retroactive, knowing that he's going to come back, right? He hasn't practiced yet, but he has resumed skating. So if you're not going to put Raanta on the injured list, here's what you do. You sign Spencer Martin to a 2-year contract, right? He's all set this year. You sign him to a 2-year contract. That contract is a 2-way deal in year one, where maybe you give him a guarantee of, let's just say, $250,000 in the minor leagues, but you're signing him to be your third goalie. Ranta's contract is up after this year. Andersen has one more year left at 3.4. So you give Spencer Martin a 2-year deal. You don't have goaltending depth that you can use in the NHL. In the minor leagues right now, Yanni Peretz is not ready to play in the NHL. And your goalies who are overseas right now, although I think there's one still playing junior hockey, your goalies who are overseas, they're not ready for the NHL either. You don't have a third goalie in the minor leagues. Remember Alex Lyon? You don't have an Alex Lyon. So you sign him to a 2-year deal. First year is a 2-way deal. Second year is a guaranteed NHL deal. There isn't a team on earth that is going to claim him off waivers with a 2-year contract sitting there. But that contract Carolina can use. It's a goaltender who can clearly give you NHL help. And the second year of the contract is a minimum deal. To me, it's a great way to be able to send him to the minor leagues, send Spencer Martin to the minor leagues. And then, if you put Antti Raanta on injured reserve until he's ready to come back, you could even add another player right now. So they could make this move today, sign Martin to the 2-year deal, put him through waivers. Actually, I guess he would have to go through waivers again. Yes. Put him through waivers. Nobody's going to claim him. Send him to find a minor league spot for him, Chicago, wherever. Send him to the minor leagues. And then, if you wanted to, you could bring up Ponomarev now and give him a couple of kicks at it. And maybe you can shock Jesperi Kotkaniemi into playing better. So that's my plan for the goaltenders. If Tom Dundon and Don Waddell and Eric Tulsky are listening to this, you can use that. I don't even want credit. I don't want credit. I don't care. We're just trying to get the Hurricanes in the best possible position to pursue a Stanley Cup. So that's what I would like. Mikhailov says Frank Vetrano would be handy. No, he would be bad for this team. Here's what we always have to remember. The Hurricanes don't want anybody who is not going to play defense. It took a long time to get Michael Bunting to remember, I have to play that end of the ice too. Yeah, it's just not going to work. It's like when everybody was hoping that the Hurricanes would add Patrick Laine. No offense, but if you can't defend, it's really hard to play here. Really hard. For about 40 games, I wasn't sure that Michael Bunting would really be good for this team. I think he's been better. He's not a great defensive player at all. But he does appear willing, and that's the most important thing. You got to be willing. I wouldn't call Andrei Svechnikov a great defensive player, but he is willing. So that's what you have to be. So that's my plan for the goaltenders. That's what I think the Hurricanes need. They gave up 2 goals. That probably the entire play was avoidable. And I also think that Teuvo Teravainen needs to play up more. Other than that, that's all I got for you on a Saturday night, Sunday afternoon now, right? Sunday afternoon down under in Adelaide or Perth or Melbourne or where are you? Sydney, Brisbane. So there you go. And in Finland. So one more time.
Sebastian Aho tässä moi. Kuuntelet tällä hetkellä Games Corner podcastia.
Thank you very much. We'll talk to everybody tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon or the following afternoon when the Hurricanes take on the Buffalo Sabres. You're listening to the Canes Corner podcast. It's available wherever you get your podcast. Also here on YouTube live about 40 minutes after every Hurricanes game. So we'll see you tomorrow night. Let's see. Eastern Standard Time, or is it daylight time? I don't know. 6 o'clock start, roughly 9:30? Roughly 9:30 Eastern Time tomorrow night. So we're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it's for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina, Hamlin Road in Durham. By the way, Samuel says Canes have been linked to Jake Gensel. Yeah, Gensel's out for a month. We'll see. He's a rental, too. Not sure. Look, Gensel can score. We know that. If they add Gensel, that would be great, but don't see it. Of course, I didn't see the Hurricanes dipping into free agency this summer either, but I don't see it. Aluminumcompany.com. They're awesome. That's all you need. And all of you are awesome for hanging out. We'll see everybody tomorrow after the Canes beat the Sabres and they start another winning streak, hopefully. Until then,